We are awaiting a House vote this morning on a motion to expel Congressman George Santos. The New York Republican would be the first member of Congress ever removed without being convicted of a crime. He faces 23 federal charges, though. He's accused of wildly inappropriate campaign spending, and that's just one example of Santos's alleged fraudulent behavior detailed in the book The Fabulist. The author of that book, Mark Chiusano, is joining us now in Studio 57. It's a great title for the book, and it must have been a wild ride trying to follow all of his breadcrumbs.
It was a lot of fun, including going to Brazil for a while and kind of meeting people who knew him there.
So in this book, right, in the very beginning of the book, you talk about your first conversation that you ever had with him, which is in 2019, and you say it's a bit strange. And you say, you know, it seems even then that he would be on edge, though at the time I thought it was simply the typical nervousness of an inexperienced candidate as opposed to the anxiety of a serial grifter and fabulist. Can you tell me what that first conversation was like?
So there were these strangenesses in the conversation from the very beginning, and I write about this in the book, how he told me he was launching his campaign that day, but he was actually in Florida for a work conference at the time. This is a New York district, you know?
So why aren't you here?
Right, exactly. Right. He also said his campaign finance filings weren't available yet. He worked in private equity his whole career. Didn't seem to be true.
Right. And so you sort of went right back into, you wanted to kind of uncover his whole life story. Learning about a person's upbringing and where they came from sometimes helps you understand. Did this give you any more insight into how he became the person that he was?
Yeah, I think that one of my favorite parts of the book
I should say the person that he appears to be.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. Yeah.
The costume he's wearing.
Right.
One of my favorite parts of the book is his relationship with his father, which was kind of fraught. There's one moment where his father comes to visit his house and kind of warns his roommate about him, sort of about his kind of lying proclivities.
His father does?
Yeah, very sort of sad. And his father now is responsible for him being out of jail. He sort of is behind his bond agreement, which is a very complicated relationship.
Yeah. You allege in the book that he persistently lied and never stopped. I want to get to page 93 here. And you say in the book, right, the kind of proximity to cops and judges could have scared him straight. He might have gratefully enrolled in a nursing program or found religion, but no, he just continued his scamming life.
This is the kind of fascinating kind of catch me if you can thing about this story, is that he kept going, he sort of stumbled and bumbled over every obstacle and refused to be kind of dissuaded.
With all the people that you spoke to, were you ever able to kind of like get to the core of what he wants? I mean, I don't know if there's something to be sympathetic about maybe within him. Like, what is it that he is craving that leads him to this sort of behavior?
Yeah, I think this story is a real tragedy. He's facing a lot of trouble now today, and his legal issues, you know, in the fall. And I think that there are some deep insecurities within him. I write in the book about his real intense efforts to sculpt his body between Botox and Ozempic and all sorts of other things. And he himself has said he has these insecurities. So I think he's a man who has sort of demons.
You know, it's really easy to sort of giggle when you talk about him. He makes for a great Saturday Night Live character. But do you think, now, you know, he's probably going to be kicked out of Congress, but if he wasn't, do you think he could have been dangerous for America?
I think that one of the scary things about Santos is that he both lies and also is willing to sort of say things that are totally not true about policy, for example, and kind of engage in conspiracy theories. And that's somewhat okay if you're just sort of chatting with your friends, a little different if you're an actual member of Congress.
Do you think he would have been elected if, I mean, we are living in strange times, and you talk about conspiracy theories. He wouldn't be the only one.
Totally.
And, you know, there are other lawmakers that dabble in conspiracy theories. They're not getting kicked out of Congress. Do you think he would have been elected if it wasn't for the current landscape of misinformation, doubting what used to be reliable sources, doubts in science, all that stuff, if we weren't living in this kind of environment? Totally.
He sort of benefited from those political currents and also stirred them himself. He sort of pushed a lot of anti-vax sentiment in the district. These were sort of the things that he used to get elected.
Mark, really interesting book, and I wish you luck with it. I'm sure a lot of it, right? Your timing is spot on, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.